The Word of God says that our hearts are deceitful. And because of that, we have blind spots, we have things that aren't right that we may not even be aware of. And when we get into the Lord's presence through that communion, He can bring those things to light. The Lord brings something to mind, He puts something on our conscience that we need to acknowledge in His presence, and then it can be judged. He gives us the grace to judge that. I remember about 10 years ago when my wife and I bought our first home, and it was an older home, and the landscape had not been kept up very nicely, and so we were working to try to put in the yard. And it was quite a process. It was more work than I thought it would be, but we would work over the ground, and we try to smooth it out, flatten it out, and rocks kept coming to the surface. This was especially rocky soil, I believe. And we'd pick those rocks out, we'd work over the ground a little bit more, and it just seemed like these rocks were coming to the surface, almost floating to the surface, and we'd remove them, and it was quite a labor-intensive process. But the ground was being prepared to receive the seed so that there would be growth. And I believe that's how it is too. It's through communion that our hearts are kind of worked over, and the Lord might bring things to the surface that we need to address in His presence. But I think the Lord might use other means too to point our attention to things that need to be judged in our lives, maybe through circumstances. I'm sure all of us can relate to circumstances that the Lord has put us in where we feel very distinctly that He is speaking to us, pointing us to something that we haven't addressed yet. Maybe through public ministry of the Word of God, we hear a brother point out something that really registers in our conscience, or perhaps it's through conversation with other people. I've noticed that brethren are often careful and tactful in what they say, and sometimes they might offer an admonition more through a comment in passing, but you know what they're getting at. And the Lord, I think, wants us to take those sort of things to heart. And if it involves an offense towards someone else, then perhaps a spiritual person who's walking in self-judgment will know how to make that right. They know how to say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Will you please forgive me?